Hello, everyone. Thanks for turning up. Massive crowd. That's about how many people bought the Wii U, actually.
So who here bought a Wii U?
Yeah, who's got one?
Oh, cool.
Not me, but my brother.
Well, you have one in spirit.
Today we are going to talk about this console here. Well, this is only part of the console, it's the gamepad. And you are going to find out about some of the interesting exclusives that are still on the console, and then also like a lot of the issues that it had as well and why it wasn't quite so successful. Thank you, Robert. So I'm Ben. I'm also known online as Qualbert. I do a lot of stuff online. I have a video game review page and run a community as well.
My name is Robert. I run a YouTube channel called Winnie Corner TV. I've been doing YouTube for 13 years, so I've had a lot of experience talking about games. But it's the first time I've done a panel.
Yeah, so it's a first for both of us, and the Wii U is quite an interesting console to talk about. It is the 10th anniversary. What date is it?
18th of November 2012 was when the system first launched in the USA.
Yeah, so it's coming up soon, and it definitely makes me feel old, the fact that it's turning 10, because I can very clearly remember back when it released.
Let's talk about getting old. Guess whose birthday it is today? It's Ben's 28th birthday! Give him a happy birthday! Woo!
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be doing something like this on my birthday.
All right. So let's start the panel by discussing why did the Wii U fail? So I think the most obvious answer is the name itself.
Yeah.
Like when you actually watch that initial unveiling of the Wii U, it's very confusing. They highly emphasize the gamepad, and a lot of people thought it was a peripheral for the original Wii.
And I personally saw a lot of that confusion. Every single time I went to purchase Wii U games, constantly I was seeing people getting frustrated that they were buying Wii U games that weren't compatible with their Wii. Like they would put the Wii U disc in their Wii console and just expect it to work. And I think the fact that it was named as such led a lot of people to believe that the Wii U was simply a peripheral. Like you would pick up the gamepad and suddenly that would work with your Wii.
Yeah. Another problem was definitely the CPU. Now, the CPU in the Wii U was a 2001 PowerPC CPU, the same one in the GameCube, the same one in the original Wii. It was enhanced and overclocked, but it was anemic. And that was a big problem for multi-platform releases. So when you saw games like Black Ops 2 running way better on the 7-year-old 360, it was not a good look.
And like that is ancient technology. It had to compete with we often compare the Wii U to the PS3 and 360 because you might think, oh, that's sort of similar power, they were out at the same time. But actually, the Wii U was the first console of its generation, and it had to keep up with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4.
And when you saw the PS4 unveiling, a couple of months after the Wii U was released, you see that amazing Killzone Shadowfall demonstration, which just like blew your tiny mind. The Wii U was like old news instantly.
Yeah, and just look at the lifespan of the consoles. When we consider the Wii U, and because of its very limited hardware, it was active from about 2012, and it really started to tail off like 2015 or 2016. And look at the PlayStation 4, released similar sort of time, and it is still going. There's still tons of support for the PS4.
They recently announced Yakuza 8 is coming to the PS4 and the Xbox in 2024.
And like, look at the Wii U. Does anyone think about it anymore? No, it's dead and gone.
And that's another thing that probably killed the system. While Nintendo's first-party output was really good on the Wii U, the third-party output was very lackluster, and there was not much compelling software. There was like these long droughts between the big heavy hitters.
The library was definitely a big reason behind why the Wii U didn't do very well. And yeah, we're going to talk quite a bit about the games that are still available for the console and interesting enough to justify getting one for.
But first we'll discuss the market trends of 2012. Why was the Wii U designed this way? Why did Nintendo heavily bank on this gamepad? Well, I think the reason was because in 2012 there was a lot of like paranoia that gaming as we know it was going to come to an end. Like mobile phone games were very popular, social media was booming, Farmville and Candy Crush were huge at the time. I mean, no, Candy Crush, King Mobile was sold to Activision Blizzard for $6 billion.
That's pretty impressive. And I think there are people out there that are still playing Candy Crush to this day.
Oh, it's installed on like every Windows 11 OS. I uninstalled it immediately.
Yeah. And like, there was fear in the industry at that point. Like, we were kind of expecting console gaming and like traditional gaming to start dying off in favor of everyone had a mobile on them. And like, these mobiles were now getting powerful enough that they could start to play video games. So there was an expectation that traditional console gaming was going to fade away simply because of mobiles.
And if you look at the Wii U gamepad, it's not too unlike a mobile phone. Like, you got the touchscreen right there, you got the gyro. Now, there's another reason why I think Nintendo went with this design was because the DS and the PSP ruled the roost in Japan. Handheld gaming is very popular in Japan.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Nintendo wanted to make a system that you could easily play and you didn't need a television. Like, sort of giving that similar versatility as a handheld.
Yeah. It was like a midway point. Like, not quite a handheld console, but not quite a traditional console that would just be attached to your TV. Like, you could take it with you. It was possible. And I actually remember when I got my Wii U for the first time, I would take it with me, and like, if I was waiting in an airport, I would find a spare PowerPoint and boot it up so that I could play it on the go.
Yeah, so going back to the social media thing, one cool thing Nintendo did actually get right, even though the Wii U didn't take off, was the Miiverse.
Miiverse was a heap of fun. Like, any of you that used it, or like remember all the crazy memes that came from it, like it was its own kind of social media spin. Like, it was focused around games, and it was very visual as well. You would often get people creating like really impressive artwork, even though it was just limited to like scribbling away on the gamepad. Yeah,
like social media integration was a pretty big thing in gaming at the time. I remember MotorStorm RC on the Vita. It gave you a prompt, would you like to share your new record with your friends on Facebook? Like, all game companies were chasing that kind of goose at the time.
Yeah, and I think Nintendo really nailed it. Like, Miiverse was integrated quite cleverly into a lot of games. And we just don't see that kind of social aspect with the Nintendo Switch.
No, you look at the Switch, there's nothing.
Nothing. It's pretty bland in comparison to something like Miiverse that brings everyone together.
But, so we've spoken negatively about the Wii U, but we do actually have a lot of fond memories of it, and we'd like to talk about our experiences of when we bought the Wii U and what were our favorite games on the system. Right, so I'll start with my experience of buying a Wii U. I actually bought mine on launch in Australia on the 30th of November 2012.
That's dedication.
Yep, I bought the premium model, which was called the Deluxe in the USA. So I came with a copy of Nintendo Land, which was awesome. It's a really cool mini game collection. I also picked up a copy of Scribblenauts Unlimited, a really fun little puzzle game where you type out like things to create to solve puzzles. Really awesome game. New Super Mario Bros. U, the fatigue of the franchise was setting in, but New Super Mario Bros. U is honestly the best game in the series. It's just really good 2D platforming, even if the music and the visuals are a bit lackluster at times. And so yeah, I was pretty impressed with the Wii U, but it's eventually obvious that the Wii U was not going to be very popular, and those droughts started happening very quickly. But I did enjoy the initial launch lineup. There was actually a lot of great launch titles. Like, aside from those games, you had stuff like Zombie U, Mass Effect 3, Black Ops 2, Assassin's Creed 3, Batman Arkham City Origins. It was a huge selection of launch titles.
And there was something for everyone. Like, there was kind of a game from each different genre, and we're talking like a pretty impressive lineup of launch titles. It was 20 in total.
Yeah, around 20.
Compared to we look at the Switch now, and it has a ton of games. But back on launch, had 5.
Just 5 games.
That's tiny.
All right, let's talk about Ben's experience.
Yeah, so I adopted the Wii U a little bit later. I'm a really big handheld gamer. At the time, I was obsessed with the 3DS. And the 3DS was kind of coming into its prime in like 2012, 2013. So I was really focused on that. But there was one game in particular that really convinced me to invest in a Wii U. And that was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. I'm a very big fan of Monster Hunter. And this particular entry was really creative because it had seamless cross-platform play. So you could sync up a Wii U with a 3DS, both with a copy of Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, and you could play with your friends. And it made for like excellent kind of co-op because at the time I was playing on the screen, I was living in a share house, and my best friend was playing on the 3DS. And just having that option to be able to play it across platforms was really cool.
So one thing we might quickly touch upon is like, what did you think of the Wii U gamepad? Like, what did you think of its integration with some games?
I think it really comes down to the game. Like some games were so creative and got the most out of the gamepad. Others, it was simply just used to mirror the screen.
Or as a map. Like.
Yeah, and like that wasn't quite as inventive. I did really like the gamepad for the option that you could just focus to play entirely on that if you wanted. It's a bit like a precursor to the Switch, basically, because you've got your docked mode and your handheld mode. You could kind of do that similarly on the Wii U.
I think one of the best implementations of the gamepad was a game like Dynasty Warriors, Warriors of Roshi 3 and Black Ops 2. The cool thing was one person could get the gamepad and the other person got the whole TV. So it was really cool. So in co-op or 2-player, one person would play on the gamepad, while the other person got the whole TV. And it was brilliant.
It kind of eliminates screen cheating, but only for one person.
All right, so
I'll just touch upon those other couple games if you can go back a slide.
oh, cool.
Because I really love Nintendo Land. This was basically like the launch title for a lot of people. And it used the gamepad so well. I don't think we ever saw any other game from Nintendo that matched it, to be honest. And yeah, like there's a Ninja Star mini game where you hold the gamepad on its side. It has really creative use of the gyro as well. And like it's just such a fun game, like single player, multiplayer. It covers so many different popular Nintendo characters and series. And there's nothing quite like it on the Switch.
And of course, let's talk about the best game of the system. I think we've agreed is the best game of the system. Super Mario 3D World.
This is like platforming perfection. Like it doesn't get much better than this, to be honest. I personally think it's the best Mario game ever made. And I mean, it's now no longer a Wii U exclusive. You can play this on your Switch, and it comes bundled with an extra kind of open world game, Bowser's Fury. But like Super Mario 3D World, for me, that was the system seller. Like the games on the Wii U didn't get better than that.
Yeah, Super Mario 3D World, this might be a very controversial statement, and I probably might get some wet willies for saying this, but I didn't like the direction of Super Mario 64. It had this emphasis on exploration over platforming, but Super Mario 3D World was just all platforming. Like imagine like 2D Mario, but now in 3D, and that's what it felt like.
It really went back to the series roots, and a lot of people loved that. Plus, I love like the jazzy big band soundtrack. It's so much fun.
But it now exists on the Switch in a more enhanced version with extra content, which is probably the best way to play it now.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about some of our other favorite games on the Wii U. So, Bayonetta 2. Now, Bayonetta 2, I remember there was a lot of controversy when this game was announced because it was announced as a Wii U exclusive.
People were very annoyed at the fact that you could only play it on the Wii U, especially considering it was available previously on the PS3 and 360, the original one.
Yeah. And it was a really cool release. Like Nintendo bundled the first game with it. Like you got 2 games for one. And the game itself was awesome. Like imagine Devil May Cry, but instead of devils, you fight angels. Instead of Dante, you get a sexy woman.
And the gameplay is just so smooth as well. Like the kind of beat 'em up combat just feels like so easy to pick up.
Like the music, the visuals, the gameplay. Once you get into a rhythm, it's just like hypnotic.
Yeah, this is like Platinum at their best, basically. And there was actually a special release of the game that was only in Europe, which is up on the screen, that comes with like a really nice kind of collector's box. And I imported that on launch just because like the hype for Bayonetta 2 was pretty unreal.
I believe Hideki Kamiya, the creator of Bayonetta, liked your tweet about it.
So I tweeted about the fact that I imported this collector's edition, and to receive recognition from Hideki Kamiya was really cool. And then he subsequently blocked me.
He's also blocked me. I think it's like a rite of passage for all gamers on Twitter. Like there's three constants in life: death, taxes, and being blocked by Hideki Kamiya. But yeah, Bayonetta 2, it's an awesome game, like amazing set pieces, like that opening sequence in New York City where you're on the jet fighter.
It was so
like,
cool.
Flying around.
Like
it's
super
awesome.
dynamic.
And my favorite scene by far is the one where you find the Lumen Sage and it cuts between you finding him on the ground and it cuts to like this kaiju battle in the background.
Yeah,
it is
pretty sweet.
awesome.
But we can't talk about the Wii U without talking about Mario Kart 8. Because Mario Kart 8, it's not only the #1 selling game on the Wii U, it's also the #1 selling game on the Switch.
It still sells well every year.
It's huge. Like if you own either one of these consoles, there's probably like a 90% chance you own a copy of Mario Kart 8.
Okay, who owns a Switch and doesn't own Mario Kart 8? Oh, there's one. There's a fringe.
You better get it. But yeah, Mario Kart 8, I think most of us have probably had some exposure to it. But when you consider the fact that for many years this was a Wii U exclusive, it was a really good reason to buy the console.
And of course, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, that was the big one.
And that was really cool as well because it was like a kind of a sister title with the 3DS version. And the interesting point for the Wii U Smash Bros. Was just its emphasis on Amiibo. Because like Amiibo released around this time, I don't have any on me, but it's like the little toys to life figures that have a NFC chip, and you can store like your fighter data on it and like train up this Amiibo to be an NPC that you can fight.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So now that we've discussed, like the thing is, we haven't talked about many games because most of the games on the Wii U are now available on the Switch or other consoles.
Like the majority of the game's reasonable titles have all been ported.
But I thought it'd be really cool to spend the second half of the panel talking about games that only exist on the Wii U. This is the reason you will be picking up this system today.
if you haven't already.
Yeah. So let's talk about Wii U exclusives. Now we already touched upon Nintendo Land, awesome game, very, very common. You can get it for like peanuts. So.
Yeah, it's super cheap, and this really is the game that shows off the capabilities of the gamepad, using like a lot of asynchronous sort of play.
Alright, so the next game is Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush. We're actually playing that last weekend on your OLED screen, and it looked amazing. The play animation looks phenomenal.
Like the colors really pop in this game. Like Kirby games are already colorful, but I think this is probably the most vibrant ever made. And it's a really interesting one because it's a sequel to a DS game, and the entire game can only be played on the touch screen. Like you have to use the stylus on the gamepad to like draw Kirby's path. Meaning that you can't really watch the game on the TV.
Yeah, which is really bad. Like, so you pretty much have to pay someone else to play to enjoy those beautiful visuals.
Yeah. Like the colors a bit washed out on the gamepad.
Yeah, it's a pretty cheap panel. So the next game is Paper Mario Color Splash. Now, neither of us have played that, but thankfully we haven't because, well, Paper Mario fans are a bit vocal.
They're savage.
Yeah.
Like ever since the 1,000-Year Door on the GameCube, and the series has kind of it's deviated and gone downhill a little bit.
Yeah.
Like Paper Mario fans get scary.
So we're not going to comment on it, but if you want a good example of how vicious Paper Mario fans are, go. I believe there's a popular YouTuber called Moist Critical. He did like a dramatic reading of like this 500 comment threads of people arguing about the Paper Mario soundtrack. It's really vicious.
Don't mess
Full
with
of
it.
them. So next one,
Okay, these ones are very topical at the moment. So it's Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. And these are the definitive ways to play these two brilliant Zelda games. People were begging for them to be ported to the Switch. And there was kind of rumors about them appearing in the Nintendo Direct that aired a few days ago, and they didn't.
yeah, we're actually watching it direct, like sweating, like, oh man, we've got to change the
Oh, God.
slide. But no, they didn't unveil it. Now, like I said, these are the definitive versions of the games, and they actually do run at a full 1080p, which
They
is
look awesome.
Yeah, very
particularly Wind Waker HD, like the bloom graphics and the lighting that they added for the HD remake. Like, I think it's one of the best looking games that Nintendo have produced.
Alright, so the next game is Dr. Luigi. It's just basically Dr. Mario. It's done during the Year of the Luigi, which Ben can talk about.
I love the Year of Luigi. Like, for so long, Mario had so much attention. Like, he was in the line. And then at least Luigi got like 1 year where the focus was on him. I'm looking forward to the year of Waluigi though.
A man can only hope. So yeah,
One day.
Dr. Luigi is just Dr. Mario, but with L blocks instead. And let's say Ben wasn't great. Let's say he took the L.
I suck at it.
Alright, so more Wii U exclusives. Mini Mario and Friends.
This is a game that was designed to sell amiibo. Like, it's most of the content of the game can only be unlocked by owning every single Mario amiibo because it's kind of locked behind it.
Yeah, so it's basically the gameplay is very much like Lemmings, you know, the old game. So you get an amiibo, you can pick anyone, and you get like a basic set of levels. But to unlock the specific levels, you've got to own like 8 specific amiibos. I can't remember.
And another amiibo tie-in game, I mean, it's in the title, is Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. A lot of people were annoyed by this because there was demand for a real Animal Crossing game on the Wii U. And personally, I think that's one of its failures, is it never had that. Instead, it had this kind of cheap tie-in that was a mixture of like Mario Party and Monopoly, but in order to play it, you had to have Amiibo. And the game itself, there wasn't a whole lot of content, and people were a bit annoyed by that.
So next up is Splatoon 1. Now, Splatoon's now become a big thing now.
It's huge. Like, it's taken off more than I could have expected.
Splatoon 3 is now the fastest selling game in Japan. It sold 3.5 million copies in its debut week.
Wow. No,
So-
that's impressive.
So Splatoon 1, you may look at it at a glance and think, how's it different from the other games? And that's kind of true mechanically, and there are some maps recycled in later games. But Splatoon 1 does actually have a campaign. It's short, it's only 3 hours long, but it's exclusive to that version of the game. And there's still people playing online. Like, we were playing it online a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it was quite active.
We got in the match very quickly. Now, the good news is because this game's hugely popular in Japan, and we have the same time zone as Japan, you can easily get into a match. And the online is free. Oh, that's another great thing about the Wii U. The online is
Oh yeah,
completely free.
no paid online. I forgot that.
Yeah,
Like, now, if you want to play online with the Switch, you have to purchase a membership.
Yeah. Next up is Game & Warrior.
This is the black sheep of the WarioWare series, simply because it doesn't rely on the micro games that the series is really loved for. Instead, it kind of deviated towards these kind of lifeless mini games.
Yeah, it's just basically a collection of tech demos.
Yeah.
But obviously the highlight is definitely Gamer, where, well, you explain it, Ben.
So basically, you play as, I believe his name is 9volt. He's like one of the characters, and he's like hiding under his bed playing video games. And each time his mum comes into the room, you have to stop playing. And if she catches you, she basically turns into a demon and kills you. And the legacy of that is it's been made into a Smash Bros. Stage.
All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Devil's Third.
Here we go, now we're getting into the good stuff.
Now,
has anyone here played Devil's Third? Raise your hands.
Oh, that's a shame.
You're missing out.
Okay, so Devil's Third is a very bizarre game. It had a long development cycle of like 5 or 6 years, went through multiple publishers, multiple engine switches. and it ended up on Nintendo's console because they needed a mature online shooter.
It's not even a very good game either, but damn, it is fun.
Yeah, so I describe the game as a genre cocktail. You can tell Itagaki liked Metal Gear Solid, Call of Duty, Gears of War, Ninja Gaiden, and he puts and Vanquish, and Vanquish, put all of them into a blender, and that's what you get. You get this really cool genre cocktail.
And it is like playing through a B-grade action film.
And honestly, it's not a bad little game. Like, my only problem is the dead zone. The dead zone's a bit massive, and the controls a bit wonky, and the frame rate's very inconsistent.
Yeah.
But if you like, B-grade cinema, I think you'll get a genuine kick out of this game. Now, what's interesting about Devil's Third is that in the USA, it's extremely rare. Like, the initial print run was only 314 copies, I believe.
So small.
Now, they did do a second print run that was a bit larger. Now, meanwhile, in Australia, this game was like super common. You went to every JB Hi-Fi, they had like 5 copies for $10.
They were in the bargain bin all over the place. And now it's creeping up in value again, so I kind of regret not buying all the copies.
Yeah, at least we've got one. But yeah, like Devil's Third, if you want to, like, this game's probably going to stay exclusive to the Wii U. I mean, Valhalla Games, the company that made it, no longer exists.
No, this is not getting ported.
Yeah, so Nintendo's kind of buried it.
But a game that's a bit more common and widely known is Mario Party. And Mario Party 10 was an exclusive on the Wii U. However, this kind of followed Mario Party 9 in the fact that it didn't have that traditional gameplay where each player individually moves around a board. Everyone was like in this car together. And most fans didn't really like that quite as much as the traditional gameplay. But it did have all the mini games. So, like, it was still pretty fun, just not as good as the earlier entries.
Mario Tennis Ultra Smash.
I don't really have any comments about this one. I didn't play it, and I mean, it seemed like it was similar to the earlier titles.
Yeah, it's not a pretty watered down tennis experience, so not much to really say about this. Now, Wii Sports Club. Now, this is interesting. This is actually a remake of the original Wii Sports done by Namco Bandai.
Yeah, it's like an enhanced version of Wii Sports. And it has the exact same sports as the free game that was bundled in with the Wii. However, it does have some integration with the gamepad. So when you're playing golf, you'll see your golf ball on the screen as well as your club, and you'll have to like hit it off the gamepad. And I actually really like when you're playing baseball, if you're fielding, the baseball will like come towards you on the screen and you have to catch it on the gamepad. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we played it a couple of months ago. It also has online play, which is pretty cool. So yeah, obviously it's made a bit redundant by the fact that Switch Sports now exists, but it's still a really cool curiosity that most people don't know about. Alright, Sing Party now. Well, I've got the microphone right here. I can sing right now. Do you want me to sing
Please, no.
my best impression?
We already have a small crowd. Don't make it any smaller.
Okay, so Sing Party was clearly Nintendo's attempt to make... It was a first-party game. Nintendo's attempt to cash in on SingStar, which was huge in Australia. So yeah, Sing Party, it's just a basic karaoke game. Not much to say about it, but it's a Wii U exclusive, and they did make a microphone for the Wii U, which is pretty cool. So one cool thing is that you can use the gamepad to display lyrics, so you can look at this, face your friends.
Oh, it's like karaoke.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like,
cool.
it's like a karaoke controller like the ones in Japan.
Now, I didn't play Sing Party for obvious reasons, but I did play the next few games. And Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard, I actually thought they were quite interesting, even though they weren't received particularly well by Star Fox fans. And these were two completely separate genres of games. Star Fox Zero was more like your traditional sort of sci-fi shoot 'em up. You probably know Star Fox and how it plays.
Or Star Wings.
Yeah, Star Wing or Lilac Wars as it's often referred to. However, Star Fox Guard, which was bundled in with like the limited edition version of the game, you actually got the cases for each of them as well as a steelbook. Star Fox Guard was like a kind of security camera style game.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Star Fox Zero, I think, was a pretty cool game, but the problem was the controls are very convoluted. It felt like a throwback to older games where the control scheme served the game, where nowadays games are built around a control scheme. Like there's like 3 or 4 control schemes, like a first person, a third person shooter control scheme. So yeah, it was a very weird control scheme. Like for example, to boost, you push up on the right analog stick, which might be a bit weird.
It does feel a bit old school.
Yeah.
But like it's still well worth buying. This is the most recent Star Fox title.
And I don't think we'll ever get ported because it seems like Nintendo's a bit ashamed of this game because it was not well received.
I still liked it. But now we're on to the one game that most people now want to pick up a Wii U in order to play, and that's Xenoblade Chronicles X. This is the exclusive that keeps the Wii U alive. As soon as Xenoblade Chronicles X gets ported, the Wii U is done for. It's gone. That's like the last nail in its coffin, basically.
Yeah, so Xenoblade Chronicles X is kind of a bit odd in the series because, well, first off, it doesn't have any UK voice acting. It actually has American voices because you're actually playing as New Los Angeles. So unlike the previous games where it took place in a fictional world with fictional races, you're actually playing as human beings. So the Earth gets destroyed by, I don't know, Coca-Cola, and everyone has to flee, and they fire off in these colonies. And New Los Angeles is one of them that lands on this alien planet. And you have to survey this planet and, uncover it, find out all about all the animals and fauna. And your Wii U gamepad is like your companion computer as you assess and analyze the foreign worlds. But
yeah, I think the integration with the gamepad in this game was actually quite clever because it works as like a heads-up display. It gives you a lot of information and helps you survey because you're just thrust into this huge open world. The game doesn't give you a whole lot of guidance, so you kind of have to find your own way through it. It's not like a story-driven adventure like the other Xenoblade games. It's not quite as linear, it's more explorative.
Another highlight was obviously the skulls you unlock in the game, which are these really cool mechs that you can customize.
Yeah.
And it's very clear the game had a lot of inspiration from mech anime. I believe one of the writers of Gundam was involved with the creative process. So yeah, it's a really cool game, even though it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the series.
No, it feels less like a Xenoblade game and more of a standalone sci-fi spin-off. But it's still well worth buying. And honestly, if you're a fan of Xenoblade and have played Chronicles and 2 or recently 3, I think it's well worth tracking down a Wii U and going back and playing X.
If you do pick up Xenoblade Chronicles X, I recommend, because the eShop will be closing in a couple of months, but you can grab these things called data packs, so it's really interesting. So if you own the disc copy, you can download these data packs that really speed up the loading times.
And that's important in such a sprawling open world like Xenoblade Chronicles. You want it to be as snappy as possible.
Yeah. So next slide. So I think we're going to move on to the third-party games. Now, Lost Reavers. Now, this is an interesting one. This was a free-to-play game made by Namco Bandai, and it was actually produced by the creator of Tekken. It basically was a free-to-play game made with Unreal Engine 3, where you play as these really wacky-looking characters that have to go and recover this treasure and escape, and you fight these zombies. It was not a very well-made game, very, very clunky, but it was free-to-play, and I think it was kind of interesting.
It was a hell of a lot better than the next game.
Oh, let's talk about Meme Run.
Meme Run, I think this is actually the worst game ever made.
Yeah, legitimately, it feels like...
Don't pay money for this.
See, when you look at Devil's Third, there's clearly passion behind it, some sort of passion and creativity. But they just missed the mark.
Meme Run is so bad.
It just feels like a complete piss take. With Meme Run, so the premise of the game is that it's a procedurally generated auto runner where the environment is made up of memes. And the game is clearly inspired by those Major League Gaming montages.
Hit markers and air horns.
And yeah, American dollar notes showering down. So the concept of the game is that the further you get through the game, the more distractions it throws at you. The screen will shake, and it's really annoying.
It's so jarring.
It's It's horrible.
But like they knew they were making something that was complete trash, and they just rolled with it. And actually, there's a sequel that you can get. It's on PC, isn't it?
It's on Steam, Meme Run 2, but Meme Run is no longer available. It got delisted because the person who owns the rights to the troll face filed a cease and desist, because people forget that memes are often copyright images that you can't just freely use in a product. A similar thing happened with Scribblenauts Unlimited. They didn't have the rights to use the Nyan cat and the piano playing cat. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. Now this is a game that probably will stay on the Wii U. Now Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, I really do feel sorry for the developers because they had to go through a lot of crunch to meet that deadline. Because originally the game was going to be this huge, ambitious open world game for the PS4 and Xbox One, and Nintendo stepped in to buy exclusivity, and they had to downgrade this game, like cheese grates it down to the Wii U. And it just became a nightmare project for everyone involved. And I really do feel sorry for the people who made the game.
I'm pretty sure it's littered with bugs as well.
It's really broken. And it's a shame because it was clearly an ambitious game, like the idea of like a 4-player co-op, Sonic game. Because the Sonic Boom cartoon is legitimately funny. It's a really good comedy. And
the 3DS kind of spin-off of this game is pretty fun as well.
Yeah, it was made by Sun Zaru, who made Sly Cooper 4, so it's a lot better game. But yeah, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, I can never see it being ported, which is a shame because I would like to see that game remade, like with that scope and that ambition tried again.
And next one is a really interesting game.
Tank.
Because you can actually play this game in Queen Street Mall. If you go to the Maya Center, they've got the arcade at the top. There is a tank machine that's like a 2-player sit-in arcade cabinet. And this game was only ever available in arcades and on the Wii U. And it's basically, I like to call it a tank 'em up. Like you press the A button, your tank shoots missiles, and you basically blast aliens. And it's so simple that anyone could pick up and play.
The controls are really simple, like your left analog stick moves, and literally every button, even all the shoulder triggers, is just fire.
It is really fun.
And it's a very basic game, but that's what makes it so amazing. Like it's so pick up and play. It's like Earth Defense Force, where you're like blowing up giant bugs and doing more destruction than the actual bugs, like buildings explode. It's awesome, and it's very pick up and play.
It's pretty hard to find on the Wii U though, so if you want to try it out, check out the arcade machine because it's heaps of fun.
And I do recommend it for multiplayer because it actually has 4-player deathmatch and 2-player co-op. And there's also the Kong mode where someone plays as a giant King Kong on the gamepad. And one of the special attacks, I kid you not, you shoot laser beams out of your butt.
Amazing. And last one, Yoko Watch Just Dance. This is an interesting one because it is a Just Dance title. It's made in...
It was made by Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's made in France.
By Ubisoft.
For a Japanese, like an anime game series. It's entirely in Japanese and it feels like authentically Japanese.
Yeah.
We were playing it the other day because I love Yoko Watch. It's a great series. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. This one's a Japan exclusive though.
Yes, sadly it was only released in Japan, and the Wii U is unfortunately region locked, so you have to find. The good news is the Wii U does have an external power supply, so you can probably buy a Japanese one and just plug in an Australian power supply.
If you really want to play Yoko Watch Just Dance.
But make sure you pay attention to the voltage levels, kids, because voltage levels and frequencies are all different around the world.
Ask Robert about it. You can host another panel on it.
Yeah, we'll talk about particle physics. Okay, so the next slide. So we talked about all the Wii U only games. So let's talk about shopping for Wii U. Now, you probably made the decision now after our compelling chin wag about...
You're all going to buy one, right?
Yeah, you're going to buy one. Who's going to buy one now? Have we sold you?
Oh, there we go.
One person. So the Wii...
That's a win.
So, but having said that, one cool thing, we didn't actually mention this, we forgot this. One great thing about the Wii U is the flawless backwards compatibility with the original Wii.
Yeah, so you can play all of your Wii games on the Wii U. You can play them in HD as well. I mean, it just upscales them.
Yeah.
So, meaning that you can easily play it on an HD TV as opposed to the Wii, which you have to use
composite or component, but
yeah.
This has an HDMI plug, so the games are still 480p, but it'll look pretty good on HD TV, very convenient.
Yeah, like it's a great option if you want to play just Wii games as well. And technically it can play GameCube games, but the only way you can access that is if you're a bit naughty.
Yeah, like the Power PC CPU, like I said, it's literally from the GameCube. So now that you decide to buy a Wii U and you've made the right decision.
Yeah, we've got two models. So on the left, the white one is the basic model. On the right is the one that I picked up, which is the premium model. The differences are the storage.
Yep.
So the basic is 8 gig and the premium is 32 gig. And that's about it, really.
Pretty much, but the premium model did come with an HDMI cable, a stand for your Wii U, a charging dock.
And it was bundled with
Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from like the storage difference, like internally, there's no major difference. However, the Wii U does support external hard drives, so you can pick up like a 500 gigabyte, 1 terabyte external USB hard drive and it'll work.
And there is one model that you should really keep an eye out for, and it's the only limited edition Wii U that was made, and that's the Wind Waker edition, which has this lovely kind of gold finish on the gamepad. It looks really nice, but it's quite expensive now. And like, where to look for a Wii U? Try and avoid your retro game shops because they will charge you a packet. There are Wii U's floating around everywhere. Like before this presentation, I went on Facebook Marketplace. You can pick them up around Brisbane for like $100, and like those $100 bundles come with a big stack of games. So it is so worth it.
Yeah, like Facebook Marketplace is your best friend. You can also try Gumtree.
Yeah, like that's an option as well, but yeah, if you want to pick one up, check out Marketplace and snap one up for cheap.
Alright, so we'll do some plugs. You can find me on YouTube on Windy Corner TV. That's also my handle for Instagram and Twitter and Facebook.
And yeah, I do a lot of things online. That's my website is qualbert.com. We do like game reviews, retrospectives, like opinion pieces. Our articles are really detailed and kind of tailored towards whether or not the game is for you. We don't assign review scores because I think they're a little bit pointless, to be honest.
Yeah, when I used to write for the Townsville Bulletin back in 2011, I had the fight to not have a score.
No scores.
So since we got...
And I just want to mention also that I took all the pictures for this presentation.
Yeah.
I really like photography of games as well. So if you're on Instagram, check out Qualbert, and I hope you like the pictures.
His photography is awesome. So if anyone has any questions...
we'll have to wrap up pretty quick.
Yeah, we're going to 5 minutes, but if you've got a question...
For those who are feeling a bit cheeky, can the Wii U be emulated?
We can't answer that, but you probably can Google it.
Yeah, I'm not at discretion to answer it, but it's certainly worth looking into.
Any other questions? Any other questions? That's it? All right, I guess that's a wrap. So thank you everyone for joining, so appreciate it.
We'll see you in another 10 years for the 20th anniversary panel.
Oh man, I'll be an old man by then. All right.